Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 118, top of the page, with the words Rabbi Yehuda Amarlach. Rabbi Yehuda Amarlach, Kikasi, Vayasher Beinav, Hu Dichsiv, Al Vahem Gedoyla, Filachai, Vesnam Elikrov. Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that an individual may also sacrifice compulsory offerings on a great public altar, could have said to you that when the phrase whatsoever is fitting is written, indicating that individuals may sacrifice only vow offerings and gift offerings, it is with regard to in his own eyes that it is written. In other words, it is referring to a location that is fitting in his eyes for sacrifice, meaning private altar, but on a great public altar, even compulsory offerings may be sacrificed. He The Gemara asks, but even if that derivation is correct, isn't man written in that verse? Isn't that to say that with regard to a man, meaning an individual, only offerings that one deems fitting to sacrifice may be sacrificed, but compulsory offerings may not be sacrificed? The Gemara replies, when man is written in this verse, it is to qualify a non-priest to perform the sacrificial service on a private altar. Zar mi v'zarak hakohen et adam al mizbach Hashem nafka. The Gemara challenges, but the fact that a non-priest is qualified to perform the sacrificial service on a private altar is derived from the verse, and the priest shall dash the blood against the altar of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, Leviticus 17, verse 6. The verse indicates that service at a great public altar may be performed only by a priest, from which it is inferred that the service on a private altar may be performed by a non-priest as well. The Gemara replies, lest you say that whereas the verse indicates that it is not required that the service on a private altar be performed by a priest, nevertheless consecration of the firstborn is required for this purpose, as was the case initially, meaning before the tabernacle was constructed. Perhaps the only non-priests who may perform the service on private altars are the firstborn sons. Therefore, the verse states, every man whatsoever is fitting in his own eyes, which teaches us that with regard to private altars, each person may sacrifice his own offerings. The Gemara clarifies the opinion of the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Yehuda by questioning, but the statement of the rabbis is identical to the statement of the first Tana, meaning the rabbis cited at the beginning of the Braita, who say that on a private altar, individual sacrificed only burnt offerings and peace offerings. What is the difference between the first Tana and the rabbis? Amar Rav Papa, Karvu Nisachim, Midbar, Ika Beinayu. Rav Papa said the difference between them is whether libations were offered in the wilderness along with burnt offerings and peace offerings. According to the opinion of the first Tana, libations were not offered in the wilderness, nor were they offered in Eretz Yisrael during the period of Gilgal. According to the rabbis, in the later section of the Braita, libations were offered in the wilderness and in Gilgal. Amar Mar, Rabbi Shimon Omer, my time of Rabbi Shimon, the master said in the Braita, Rabbi Shimon said that even the public did not sacrifice all offerings in the tent of meeting in Gilgal. They sacrificed only paschal offerings and compulsory public offerings that have a set time. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. As it is written, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. Joshua 5:10. Pshita Elaha Kamash Malon Choivus Kein Pesach Hu Dikarev Holav Kein Pesach Hu Korev Vidach. The Gemara asks, isn't it obvious that they brought the Paschal offering? The Paschal offering is compulsory. Rather, this verse teaches us that in Gilgal, only compulsory offerings similar to the Paschal offering, meaning that have a set time or sacrifice, but offerings that are not similar to the Paschal offering were not sacrificed. The Gemara asks, and how does the other Tana, meaning the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Shimon and hold that during the period of Gilgal, other offerings were sacrificed by the public, interpret the verse? Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Bana, Orel Mekabel Hazo. The Gemara responds, it is necessary for the halacha that was taught by Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan says, in the name of Rabbi Bena'ah, if an uncircumcised Jew contracts ritual impurity from a corpse, he may receive sprinkling of the water containing the ashes of the red heifer on the 3rd and 7th days of purification, despite the fact that he is uncircumcised. In the time of Joshua, the people became circumcised after they were purified from impurity imparted by cohorts. Okay? Okay. Moment, brief pause here. Okay, weiter. Tani coming. Tani coming. Der Rav Advar Haba ein bein Bama Gedan Levama Getana El Pesach Chovis Gevul Hen Zman. Amar Le Yachid Chovis Gevul Hen Zman Menale. With regard to the Paschal offering and compulsory public offerings that have a set time mentioned by Rabbi Shimon, the Gemara relates that a Tana taught a Braita in the presence of Rav Adabar Ahava the difference between a great public altar, for example, the altar in Gilgal, and small private altars is only that the Paschal offering and compulsory offerings that have a set time may be sacrificed upon a great public altar, but not upon a private altar. Rav Adabar Ahava said to him, from where would an individual sacrifice compulsory offerings have a set time? There is no such offering brought by an individual. It was therefore unnecessary for the Tana to state that this type of offering is not a sacrifice on a private altar. Amarle es maya amarle tetargem matin tach beolat chova deika oilas tendava dihi chatas yachid hu chovot tikvia le zman miika. The Tana said to him, if so, shall I remove it from the text of the Mishnah and teach only Paschal offerings? Rav Adabar Ahava said to him, that is not necessary. Interpret your Mishnah as referring to compulsory burnt offering, meaning the burnt offering of appearance brought on the pilgrimage festivals by every individual, which is not sacrificed on a private altar, as there is conversely a voluntary burnt offering that may be sacrificed on a private altar. This brisa must be discussing a burnt offering brought by an individual, if it is referring to a sin offering brought by an individual. Are there compulsory sin offerings that have a set time? The Gemara asks, and let us establish the Braita as referring to the compulsory meal offering of an individual which has a set time, and there is the girdle the griddle cake offering of the high priest that was obligated to sacrifice every day, and that may be sacrificed only upon a great public altar, not upon a private altar. The Gemara replies, Rav Adabar Abba holds that there is no meal offering sacrificed upon an altar outside the temple, even a great public altar. Go to Shiloh, they came to Shiloh. What's it say? How do we know this? The Mishnah teaches that when they arrived at Shiloh, private altars were prohibited. And there was no proof of wood or stone in the tabernacle in Shiloh. And there was only a building of stone below, and the stone curtains of the roof of the tabernacle were spread above it. The Gemara asked, from where these matters derive? Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan, Kasuf Echad Omer, V'tiviehu Beis Hashem Shiloh, Kasuf Echad Omer, V'itosh Es Mishkan Shiloh Ohel Shekain Adam, Uksiv V'ima'es Bo'el Yosef B'shev Ephraim Lo Yibachar. The Mishnah teaches that when they arrived at Shiloh, private altars were prohibited. There was no roof of wood or stone in the tabernacle in Shiloh. There was only a building of stone below, and the curtains of the roof of the tabernacle were spread above it. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? Rav Chia bar Abba said, the Rabbi Yochanan says, one verse states with regard to Hannah bringing Samuel to the temple, when Hannah brought Shmuel to the temple, and she brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. 1 Samuel 1:24, and one verse states, and he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, and the tent that he had made to dwell among them, Psalm 78:60, and in addition, it is written, moreover, he abhorred the tent of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim. Okay? Next, okay, how could this be? HaKetzad Lo Hashem Tikra Elav Avanim Milmatan Yurias Minalan Vihi Minucha. One verse describes the tabernacle in Shiloh as a house, while the other describes it as a tent. How can these texts be reconciled? As the Mishnah states, there was no roof of wood or stone there, rather there was stone below, and it was therefore described as a house. And the curtains of the tabernacle were spread above it, and it was therefore described as a tent. After the period that the tabernacle was in Shiloh was characterized in the Torah as rest, in the verse 4, you have not yet, as yet, you have not as yet come to the rest, and to the inheritance which the Lord your God has given you. Deuteronomy 12:9. Kajim Kalim. No, Hamili. Amr Revoshi, Amr Kral Hisham, and the Chaben Tala, Oles, Kabakam Kamasher, Atati, Bikam Asher, Tire, Iatam Male, Abalata, Ochel, Bechom Makam, Shatarot, Roe. The Mishnah teaches that during the period of Shiloh, offerings of the most sacred order were eaten within the curtains, and offerings of lesser sanctity and second tithes were eaten in any place that overlooks Shiloh. The Gemara asked, from where are these matters derived from? Yehoshua said, as in the context of the prohibition against sacrificing outside the temple, the verse states, take heed to yourself that you do not offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see. Deuteronomy 12:13, from which we learn, we may be inferred that you may not offer up in any place that you see, but you may offer up in every place that you see. You may eat the offerings in every place that you see. Okay. Right? Okay. Eima b'chol makom she'ata ro'eh i'ata ma'aleh aval atan zoveya b'chol makom she'tira. The Gemara challenges, say instead that the following inference: you may not offer up offerings upon an altar in every place that you see, but you may slaughter offerings in every place that you see. Hold on, you may not offer up offerings upon every altar in every place that you see, but you may slaughter offerings in every place that you see. It would therefore be permitted to slaughter offerings in any place that overlooks Shiloh. On Rabbi Yanai, Amrakra, Shamtale, Vishamta said, Rabbi Yanai said that, the subsequent verse states, but in the place that the Lord shall choose in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you. Deuteronomy 12:14, this verse teaches that all of the sacrificial service is performed in the place that the offering is burned, and only the consumption of offerings of lesser sanctity is permitted in any place that overlooks Shiloh. Abdin Bar Chasa said that when describing the boundaries of Eretz Israel of the children of Joseph, wherein Shiloh was located, the verse states, and he's going to go into his next proof. We got to the end of side A. I guess, you know what, let's continue on to next side. As the verse states, Velu ta'anat Shiloh. Mikol Shiroya also mis anach alav alachilas kachim Shiloh. And the border turned about westward to Ta'anath Shiloh. Joshua 16, verse 6, a place adjacent to Shiloh. Why did it bear the name of Ta'anath Shiloh? It is because it was a place from which whoever saw the tabernacle in Shiloh after its destruction would moan for it with regard to the consumption of sacrificial animals from offerings of lesser sanctity that had been previously permitted there, but was now no longer permitted. I think we'll stop there for 118a, a little bit of b, and we'll continue on in the next video.